haven't done a commentary video in a bit. Let's see if I'm still good at making them. Recently, something problematic happened in the art community. I know, pretty shocking, that doesn't happen really often, so, big deal. This problematic act is so heinous that the internet has taken to creating a trend just for the sake of mocking this person. The kind of treatment you see when someone comes out as a groomer, or even worse sometimes. With the way that people talk about this artist in their posts, you'd assume they whole-on drew pro-shipper propaganda or something. But when you take a closer look to the post that began this drama, you'll find humanized versions of the main six. What's so bad about this art, you ask? According to TikTok, it's too diverse? I've explained the concept of art lore in my first video, but I don't think I did it really well, so let me try again. Art lore is essentially where a community, usually the art community, begin a trend in order to mock another artist. This can be from a variety of reasons, such as, but not limited to, the artist turns out to be a bad person, the art has some minute errors that people think are funny, or simply, people are trolling and trying to get a rise out of people. The origins of art lore are foggy, but one of the earliest examples of it is an artist posting a video that is now famously known as rendering process. In this video, the artist shows the before and after of an illustration after they rendered it. Despite the title it's earned, the rendering isn't the issue that people had with this piece. The issue, apparently, is the unrealistic anatomy. People were fast to point out that the eyes are too high up, which would result in a deformed skull. People turned this into a big joke, creating visual references to what the malformed skull would look like, or purposefully messing with the placement of their drawing's eyes to reference the original. Despite this post and the subsequent meme being made in November of 2021, the meme still lives today. It is still a big fear for a lot of artists on TikTok to receive comments that say rendering process, as it would simply be an over-convoluted way of saying, this is ass. So again, basically, art lore is just starting a trend to make fun of someone, specifically an artist. How it connects to this piece, I'll explain now. A normal trend in the art community is to draw the main cast of My Little Pony as humans. All of my artist friends that like My Little Pony have done it just because it's fun and so many different designs can stem from it. One day, another artist decided to participate in this trend. An account that goes by the name MAGDA posted their renditions of what they believe the main six would look like. On March 10th of this year, yes, I know, I'm really late to this, I got lazy. Magda posted a slideshow of the 6 characters as humans. Some of these are aspects that you see in most human redesigns. Pinkie Pie is black and plus size, Rainbow Dash is more of a tomboy and a bit darker, and Applejack was more on the buffer and masculine side in her portrayal. Some of their designs were new though. Rarity is portrayed as plus sized and with dwarfism, Fluttershy is way taller and curved, and Twilight is hitting a somewhat familiar pose. The public reaction to this post was explosive.
No, because why is Twilight just Terry Crews?
Why is Rarity the feet tall?
What infection level is Fluttershy on?
This is not the main six as humans.
My little dog get cancelled.
Applejack looks like Tefayaku.
Oh my god, they ate too much.
Ain't nothing little about this.
My little tortas.
That's just pie.
Don't play with me, Brr.
Did Pinkie Pie eat half of Rarity?
My little diabetes.
This is exactly what happened to Monster High.
My little Discord server.
My little testosterones.
One of them being Gorlick the Destroyer.
They ate the friendship and let Fluttershy starve.
My forced representation.
A Spike se lo tragaron, creo.
I remember them running a lot in the show though.
My forced representation.
It seemed like there was an issue with each of these designs, and everyone had something to say. However, the comments that I found most interesting would always follow a certain vibe to them. My forced representation and my little don't get cancelled were spammed in the comment section, all indicating the same thing: forced wokeness. Something you should know about how people react to these human renders of the characters is that diversity is never an option to these audiences. As I said, it's common to make Pinkie either plus-sized, black, or both. Whichever they do, audiences always react in the worst of ways possible. Fat phobia isn't new, so you'll always get the comments calling her disgusting and calling her names because making fun of plus-sized people is just so funny. Then you'll get the other comments, which is an actual whole-on debate on TikTok. I forget the app is purely brain rot 80% of the time. Maybe I forgot because of the aforementioned rot getting rid of my memory membrane or something. The debate centers the idea of giving a horse an ethnicity, and many people argue that the colors of the rainbow cast don't match with the dark hues of these fan arts. Essentially, whenever any mix of diversity is mixed into these fan arts, especially with Pinkie Pie, the comments will always have people complaining because being fatphobic and racist is kind of the yin and yang of the internet. It's always gonna happen. I visualize the hate that plus-sized and person of color Pinkie Pie gets and how extreme it is, because now I want you to take and visualize all of that hate and now multiply it by 6. One multiplier for each character, because now all of these designs are an issue. The main issues that people had with these designs are the inclusion of plus-sized people, Rarity being small, Rainbow Dash and Applejack being masculine, Twilight looking like that, and Fluttershy being tall. If you're wondering how this counts as art lore, I first have to explain a whole other art lore trend. Hazbin Hotel, the greatest animated adult show, said no one ever. Hazbin Hotel needs no introduction, it's just an adult cartoon set in hell. The only context you need is that people don't like the creator of Hazbin Hotel a lot, so they decided to take one of the sprites of the main cast and turn that into a piece of art lore. The official art of Alistair was taken and drawn over various times to conform to the cast of other shows. So basically, there'd be 5 copies of the Alistair sprite, but they'd all be edited to look like the cast of Family Guy, or TF2, or Bungo Stray Dog, just random shit like that. The joke is supposed to be that all her character designs look the same, so they'll draw the entire cast of another show with the exact same sprite. Since these are all mostly slideshows, they will start with the same first slide. There would be a text box that reads, insert certain media in my style. Something like that at least. As well, they would play a version of Coco by OT Genesis with a few words changed. The reason this is at all relevant is because this got replaced in a way. When Magda posted the art of the main 6, people threw out the Alistair sprite and entirely changed the trend to be drawing over Magda's art with the cast of other shows. It'd be the same text, same song, same punchline. The only difference now is that instead of the joke being a lack of diversity, the joke is too much diversity. That was a lot of talking and a lot of explaining of different things just to get to the bottom of one joke. And the worst part is, I never even found it funny. I tried not to show too much bias whilst I described it, but I can do that now. I just really don't like this trend. I can only recount it so perfectly because I watched it happen in real time. Each of these posts that I described, I got them on my For You page individually whenever they came out. My personal take is that, the original Magda post does have some issues, which I will address, but overall, y'all kinda suck for making this art lore. The rendering process art lore is something I didn't like either. It was cruel and making fun of a beginner artist just because anonymity makes people feel safe to do so. In my opinion, this doesn't really feel any different from that. The idea of forced diversity is difficult to talk about, so I'll try to speak of it as carefully as I can. I'm transgender and Mexican, so I have my own definitions of forced diversity within that. I consider forced diversity when characters of other cultures or even just minorities are placed into pieces of media and not actually taken the time to learn about them. I see this when a non-binary character is introduced and they make their entire personality just their gender, which isn't how non-binary people act. As well, it really irritates me when a Latino character on TV will say Latinx to refer to their community, as anybody Latino will immediately tell you that Latino is already the gender-neutral plural term for us. I'm pretty sure you can say Latinx if you want to refer to yourself if you're non-binary or just non-gender conforming, but when you're talking in plural, just don't use the term Latinx, it's not needed. Other than that, I don't think forced representation is really a thing. The inclusion of a minority in a show isn't forced diversity. The world has everyone and every culture within it. It would be more forced to have an all-white cast than to just include minorities. Sure, you'll have the occasional event of a character's race, sexuality, or gender being changed, and many people label that as forced to appeal to a new call for diversity. That's a separate debate that I just don't think mixes into this, so I'm not going to include it and all of that debate here. Again, I don't think forced representation is a thing unless it's done so improperly that the portrayal of them is basically a stereotype. Rosetta Stone said it best.
Having a diverse cast is not forced diversity. You just don't want to see people of color, plus-size people, autistic people in the spotlight. You don't want to see us on screen, so you say it's forced. Because prior to that, people of color only existed in media to support your favorite white cast.
In terms of that, do I think that this specific art is forced diversity? Not really, no. People have come to a point in time where if art isn't all just socially attractive copy and paste, then it's considered bad. I mean, why do you think people hate modern art so much? And no, I don't mean modern art that's just the elite putting bad stuff out in the world with their power and capital. I mean actual modern art, like cubism and abstraction, stuff like that. This is gonna be a little bit of a side tangent, but I promise has a point. Actually an art major. Whenever people speak ill of modern art, they'll bring up stuff from the Renaissance. They say the Renaissance, but more specifically they mean stuff like Rococo art. Rococo art is stunning and beautiful, depicting immense detail and stunning figures. I believe a huge reason people are attracted to these pieces and absolutely hate modern art is due to the fact that they now have to consume work that isn't just for the appeal to the human eye. Whenever an artist is documented from going to drawing aesthetically pleasing work to abstract and different stuff, people will call it mental illness taking over their artistic mind. However, more often than not, this is an artist becoming bored with the aesthetic side of art and turning to abstraction to better convey their artist statement. Why do I point out any of this now? Because people don't like looking at things they don't find attractive. Still now, the ideal woman, at least in the United States, but I know it's true for other countries, is a skinny, petite, and pale woman. Whenever human designs for the main six are not all the same beautiful white woman, people are outraged and upset. It is only when they are socially acceptable and attractive that the comments will be spammed with, "Oh, finally, a normal one." Somebody smell like shit! That's the diversity criticism that annoys me. Legitimately, no, I don't see it as forced. I mean, it's definitely the first time I've seen dwarfism included in one of these fan arts, but it's not something that I'm opposed to. I see it happen all the time. Whenever dwarfism is shown in a show or media, people always kind of make them the joke. I personally never really got it, but in this case, I do know why it's turning people off. This is kind of the main issue that I personally have with it. Aside from any criticism of the minorities included here, there are some that I personally do agree with. The art quality itself is less than stellar. I mean, okay, I know I'm not the best artist in the world or anything, but there are some main issues that have been irking me about this. Scale and proportion are hard, I get that, but Pinkie Pie's head is double the size of Twilight's. I'm a plus-size person, and not the slightly chubby kind, more so the kind that has heard all of the comments that Pinkie Pie has. And being plus-sized doesn't make me a behemoth twice the size of my comrades, you know? I think the aspect of drawing them all on separate sheets and then pasting them together is what causes size difference to be so harsh. Rarity is portrayed with dwarfism here, yes, but with the other scaling being so messed up from one another, she just sticks out like a sore thumb. The original Alistair trend was due to how non-diverse the art is. Now, with the joke being such severe size differences within the characters, I can see why people are using Magda's art to do it. I don't think it's because they're plus size that it's so drastic, I think it's just poor scaling. As for the actual art quality, well, I think Twilight's face and outfit can just summarize it for me. To be honest, I thought Fluttershy looked stunning. This is nice character design with a taller figure and outfit that accentuate her shy nature. But Twilight doesn't feel like Twilight here. She feels like she's about to try to sell me a car, or like she's about to take a certain photo. I like Rainbow Dash and Applejack. I do believe that Applejack would be, well, jacked as she works on the farm, and I think Rainbow Dash would be that kind of Adam Sandler sapphic type. My only issues with these are some basic anatomical and posing issues, and Rainbow Dash does come off a bit too strong in a way. With body hair, it's better to use patterns or brushes rather than to draw each line of body hair individually. Also, I just don't really like some of these outfit choices. I don't like how long Rainbow Dash's shorts are, since they seem to be sports shorts. I just think they'd be uncomfortable being so long. And then the bright ass pink shoes just overpower the rest of her color scheme. Twilight's top is very off-putting. I really just don't like the look of it. It's unbuttoned at the top, but then also tucked in. It just visually appears as though there wasn't much idea of what her personality should be portrayed as here. As for Applejack and Fluttershy though, I can tell thought was put into why they would wear the clothes they do. Applejack's is also tucked in and open at the top, but that's just farm wear. Twilight's not doing any heavy lifting or sweaty jobs that would result in her opening the buttons at the top. And Fluttershy doesn't have any sudden or neon colors to suddenly alter the entire outfit, which is something that I really liked. Then there's Rarity and Pinkie Pie. There's a struggle with these two, again, to correlate their personalities into their visuals. Pinkie Pie's outfit feels childish, but not in a Decora K kind of way. More so, this is just actual kids' clothing on an adult kind of way. The skirt has no pattern whilst the top does, and they don't feel fully fitted together. The socks are fine, but then she has neon shoes to match with her hair. Speaking of the hair, her and Rainbow are the only ones who have hair that correlates with the pony counterparts. It works for Rainbow Dash in my opinion, but I think it's too stark of a contrast on Pinkie Pie due to the pastels of her clothes. As for Rarity, this is kind of an issue due to the style they chose. From afar, the lines beneath her chin look like extra chin lines due to being plus sized, but looking closer, they're meant to be indirect lines for her neck. When I figured that out, she honestly looked a lot better in my opinion. Dare I say, I thought she was pretty. The pose is honestly really cute for her, but it's ruined by her outfit. The shoes are fine, I would have preferred heels, but that's just me. However, I don't understand what the sleeves are and why the skirt is so huge. I think if it was a dress with off-shoulder sleeves, it would have been much better and allowed the artist to have that kind of sleeve look that they were going for. But this feels like someone who mixed a bunch of cut in half pieces of clothing onto one person. That's my personal review of each of them individually from a critical visual perspective. I don't hate it. Again, Fluttershy and Applejack look great in my opinion, and a less exaggerated version of Rainbow Dash would also be pretty cool. It's just Twilight, Rarity, and Pinkie that have some issues for me. I wanted to see what others had to say that weren't just cruel TikTok comments, so I asked the people from my server about their opinions. By the way, I have a Discord server that you should definitely join if you want to get to talk to me or other people who like my content. I'm actually about to host a big artist event in there, which I'll talk more about at the end of the video, so stay here until the end if you're an artist and wanna do artist things. I asked the server to give me their unfiltered and genuine opinions about the art, and I got a lot of mixed replies. A lot of them reacted the same way I did, that the proportions are just unfitting of each other and cause drastic changes from one character to the next. Some said that the art would probably look a lot better if it were portrayed in a more cartoonish style. Someone pointed out that this felt rotoscoped, as if they took actual photos of people and then drew them in line to what they were imagining for the human designs. With the movement of lines and hard-to-read placement, I can see why people think this way. Additionally, I can see why a more stylized choice could have suited this piece more. A few people also pointed out that the visual choices just don't fit how characters would act. Pinkie Pie being plus size is the popular headcanon due to her affinity for sweets, but some people think that Rarity would want to conform to social standards, never letting herself get overweight. There were some iffy replies in there about the characters being too dark or too big or too manly. Someone from my server, Mary, love you Mary, said that they all look like men, but you know, Mary being the diehard lesbian said that she loves that. So to each their own. There were some comments in there about the characters being too dark, which I personally don't understand myself, but people tried to explain that with this style, it's too hard to see their faces, or that it can even feel exaggerated how dark they are. Again, I personally don't see it, but that's an opinion that was brought up in there. Someone else pointed out that they didn't mind having mostly people of color in the piece, but rather wished that more than just one kind was shown. Having more body types and obvious ethnicities or cultures would have felt better in their opinion. Of the 6, the 3 most popular designs in the server were Fluttershy and Rainbow. The least popular were Pinkie and Rarity. Overall, most of the criticism was about the quality of the art and the style choices, such as line quality or just the outfits. Considering the top comments on the original post were all just making fun of their skin tones or body shapes, this was a welcome change of pace for me. I heard it was way worse on Twitter, and I'm just not gonna look because I know the amount of toxicity in that reply section would render me as radioactive as a Chernobyl victim. As for the whole art lore aspect of it, it's just silly to me. I think some of them are funny because they'll make the biggest character of the media they're referencing the smallest one, and vice versa. And that That makes me giggle. I think that's funny. But also, at the end of the day, this is just another case of people taking someone else's art without permission and mocking it because they don't like it. I know the internet is cruel like that, but it just stops being funny when you remember Magda is another artist sharing their work and ideas. One of my mutuals, Wacky Wazoo, has human designs that are actually extremely similar to the ones Magda made, aside from rarity, and I think they're fantastic. I truly do think it's just the art style and clothing that made it so unappealing for a lot of people. If you want proof that most people are just upset at being exposed to plus-size people and people of color, you can take a look at her comment section where people are still upset with Wacky's amazing designs. Wacky doesn't even have more than like 3 or 4 less than pale people and was still criticized for making them darker. In my opinion, no, you can't tie a race to a pink, blue, or purple horse, which is why headcanon should include any race for human designs. Same with body types. No, they're not by default white or skinny or anything. By default, they're horses with wings and horns. If you're bothered by the idea of your pretty pink horse being a shade darker than you like, go outside. God knows you're iron deficient with how long you argue against artists that at least make an attempt to have skill at something beneficial. Or maybe your lack of sunlight has made you so pale that any shade below titanium white no longer feels human to you. That's all I really have left to say. This will all burn out within another week if it hasn't already, and most people will forget. I think the original Alistair version of the trend was funny, but this one feels a lot more mean-spirited compared to it. Magda still has the original post up, so they're probably not that bothered by it, or just taking a break from the internet. Either way, good for them. As I said earlier, I'm holding a bit of an event for artists. It's an event to celebrate 7,777 subs. 3 is a lucky number for me, but 7 is my favorite. So in celebration of that, I'm doing a Draw This in Your Style challenge for anybody interested. The idea was proposed by my good friend Sacy, so thanks, Say. The challenge is to draw this specific piece in your style and to incorporate the number 7 into it if you can. You can either submit these in my Discord server, which will have a channel added specifically for this Draw This in Your Style, or you can post it on TikTok or Instagram with the hashtag FROMMI7777, or any of these variants if you want to be more specific. There's no deadline really, but the best will be pinned to my Discord starboard within a month or 2. Thanks for all the support shown in my last few videos, it means a lot, and it's really motivating in terms of continuing to make content. If you have any video suggestions, leave them in the comments, or put them in my video suggestions channel of my Discord server. As of right now though, I'm done, so bye.
Take off your idols, take off the runway, take off the Cairo, take off the sandal, pay 5 days stay, take a put a meal and the follow. Take off the fuck take off perception, take off the cop with the iPad, take off the unload, take off the unsure, take off decisions.